My name is Nathad. I used to be an ordinary guy named Li Zhu, living a simple life and spending my free time at a local internet cafe. Everything changed during one fateful gaming session. While trying to install a mythical mod for a fantasy game, a freak electrical accident at the cafe killed me. Instead of the end, it was a new beginning. I woke up inside a cramped, sticky shell. When I broke free, I realized I wasn't human anymore. I had been reborn in the world of the game, but not as a glorious hero. I was a dragon beast, a weak and deformed hatchling without wings. Standing over me was my new mother, a massive and terrifying black dragon named Carta. She looked at me with cold disappointment. In this world, I was the lowest of the low. Even though I was weak, I discovered I had a secret weapon. A system called the Atlas of Mountains and Seas appeared in my mind. It was the mod I had been downloading before I died. This cheat tool gave me hope that I could actually survive and grow stronger. However, reality hit me hard and fast. My excitement and noisy behavior annoyed Carta. With one swift movement of her massive claw, she swatted me away like a bug. That left me broken, bleeding, and trembling on the ground. I realized very quickly that this new world was cruel and only respected strength. Now, I am clinging to life, waiting for my system to save me and help me rise from a lowly beast to a powerful force. After awakening in this new world, my survival system finally kicked in. I gained the gluttonous bloodline, giving me a stomach that can turn anything into nourishment. Since I was injured and had no food, I had to eat dirt, grass, and even worms. It tasted terrible, but the energy helped me heal and made my scales and claws tougher. While I struggled to survive, 3 other eggs hatched. 2 were true dragons, but the third was a weak dragon beast like me. The dragon mother, Carta, gave the true dragons names and fed them fresh fish, but she ignored us, lowly, ones. The other dragon beast tried to attack me, thinking I was an easy target because of my injuries. I tricked it, fought back, and bit its neck. I wanted to eat it to gain more power, but I knew that killing and eating my own kind was against dragon law. If I did, the dragon mother would execute me. Carta eventually gave us our full names. The true dragons received noble clan names, but she insulted me by naming me Nathad Krovik, which means unhealed wound. I accepted the name for now, hiding my anger while promising myself that I will make them all pay once I am strong enough. That night, while the others slept, I went searching for food. I found the leftovers from the true dragon's meal, but the bones were too hard for my young teeth. Instead, I found the discarded dragon eggshells. They were full of life energy and minerals. I ate them all in secret, feeling my body grow even stronger. I even noticed small horns starting to grow on my head. I am different from a normal black dragon. My skin is red and my eyes are black, but my bloodline is special. I may be a scab to them now, but with my special ability, I am going to outgrow them all. I called upon my special interface, the Shanghai record, and discovered my new bloodline, the Taotai. To fully evolve into this mythical creature, I need to collect specific body parts by consuming different beings. While taking another life felt strange at first, I realized that in this dragon society, the strong live and the weak die. I chose to stay in the cave with the black dragons for protection since I don't even have wings yet. The next day, I noticed my body was growing at an impossible speed. I already had bone spikes on my elbows and dark, ink-black eyes. Feeling hungry, I headed to the river. I tried to jump in to catch fish, but I almost drowned because I didn't know how to swim as a dragon. After crawling back to the shore, I decided to use my human knowledge. I crafted a rough fishhook out of a bone and some vines. Using a worm as bait, I hooked a massive creature called an iron crocodile carp. It was over a meter long and very strong. I struggled with it for a long time, eventually tying the vine to a huge tree to tire the fish out. When it finally gave up, I pulled it onto the grass and ate every single part of it, meat, bones, and scales. Eating the fish gave me a huge burst of energy and a new passive skill called fish swim. I jumped back into the water and found that I could move smoothly like a carp. I realized that my survival depends on this cycle of eating and growing. Even though the dragon mother doesn't feed me, my hard work and my system are making me stronger than anyone expected. I just need to keep eating and sleeping until I am powerful enough to leave this swamp and explore the world. After eating the fish, I discovered I could swim with ease, moving through the water like a carp. I felt the natural urge of a dragon to just eat and sleep, but I knew I had to work harder than my siblings to survive. When I returned to the cave, the dragon mother, Carta, noticed my rapid growth. In just one day, I had developed bone buds that usually take months to appear. Even though she saw my potential, I was still just a lowly beast in her eyes, denied the magic and status of a true dragon. While I tried to rest, one of the true dragons, Zorgax, tried to bully me and kick me out of the cave. He acted like my master because of his pure bloodline, but I didn't care about his titles. I knew I was physically stronger and more experienced thanks to my human mind. I provoked him until he attacked, and we fought fiercely. Although he was naturally powerful, I used a clever wrestling move to pin him down and lock him in place. I held him until he was exhausted, and then used my claws to cut his neck, showing him that his noble blood wouldn't save him from my strength. Zorgax ended up crying like a child. Carta finally stepped in to stop the fight, telling us not to kill our own kind. I could see her bias. She only cared because her favorite was losing. She saved him, but she clearly looked down on him for being so weak. Carta gave me a warning look, seeing me as a threat to her other children. I crawled into a corner to sleep, knowing I had to be careful. This fight proved that I could grow much faster than them. I am now more determined than ever to get stronger, so I can leave this swamp and live on my own terms. I don't need a clan name or her approval. I just need to keep growing until no one can look down on me again. This time, Nasad slept for 5 full days. During that time, his body changed noticeably. When he slowly woke up, he found that his once thin limbs and elbows now had a bit of muscle. He had also grown larger, from 2 meters to 2.5. Dragons naturally grew fast. Their eggs usually took 3 to 10 years to hatch, and that period was already part of their early growth. So even newborn dragons, though still fragile, could easily match an ordinary human soldier. Carta's protection was mainly to keep the young dragons safe from other dangerous beasts. Even so, Nasad's growth speed was astonishing. The other 2 dragons were now half a head shorter than him, even though their bloodline was purer, which should have made them grow faster and stronger. Now that Nasad had surpassed them, Zorga looked at him with hatred. A narrow heart was, after all, one of the fine traits of dragonkind. But when Nasad looked back, Zorga quickly lowered his head, cowardly and weak as always. After waking, Nasad felt a deep hunger. He stretched his body and prepared to go hunting. The other 2 dragons were doing well. Every day when they woke up, Carta would throw food to them, and today the pile was even higher than usual. But none of that had anything to do with Nasad. Just as he was about to walk out of the cave, Istiriel suddenly called out to him. "Nasad, what is it?" Nasad frowned. Was Istiriel also looking for trouble with him? He could handle Zorga alone, but if both dragons attacked him together, he would have no choice but to run. "Carta is going to sleep for a while," Istiriel said. "She might not wake up for 10 days, or even half a month. As you can see, she left us all the food we'll need during that time. I have the right to divide it. Would you like to share this delicious, well-aged meat?" Only then did Nasad notice the sound of Carta's snoring coming from deep inside the cave. It seemed Istiriel now held a higher position. That made sense. Zorga, though a true dragon, had been defeated by a dragon beast. He was practically useless now. His cowardly behavior had cost him the right to distribute food. In truth, true dragons and dragon beasts were already 2 different kinds of creatures. "What's the condition?" Nasad asked. "Submit to me." Istiriel raised his neck high. Since he was shorter than Nasad, he had to tilt his head back to look down at him from that angle. Nasad found it funny. The way Istiriel acted reminded him of a pompous fool trying too hard to look important. "Sorry," Nasad said coldly. "The way I was raised doesn't allow me to do that." He sneered at the offer. His bloodline might be weak, but his pride was strong. He would never bow. Give it 30 years, he thought. We'll see who stands higher then. Just as he turned to leave and go hunting, Istiriel tossed a dead creature toward him. Nasad glanced at it. The body, not counting the tail, was about 3 meters long. Its black fur was streaked with white, and its fangs were longer than Nasad's claws. It looked a bit like a tiger from Earth, but far more fierce and powerful. He could smell the tempting scent coming from the carcass. Grr! His stomach growled loudly in response. This is a magical beast called the shadow-striped tiger. If you don't want to eat it, you can just leave. But if you miss this chance, next time you want to submit, you'll only get the leftover bones and scraps. What? A magical beast? Nesad swallowed hard. Magical beasts were completely different from ordinary animals in this world. They might be born mutated, carry special bloodlines, or evolve by absorbing enough natural magic. From them, humans could obtain many rare alchemy materials, while for dragons, they were a delicious treat. Faced with such temptation, Nesad straightened his back and smiled slightly. You have a sharp eye, my lady. From now on, whatever you say goes. I've long wanted to follow you. My admiration for you flows endlessly, like a great river. Esti was stunned. Judging by Nesad's earlier attitude, she had already prepared to be rejected. If that happened, she wouldn't have minded teaming up with Zorga to teach him a lesson. But unexpectedly, he didn't refuse. Where did he even learn to talk like that? His overly flattering words made even the young dragon, only 6 days old, blush slightly. All right, I accept your loyalty. Now stop talking. Nesad clasped his hands and bowed, thinking to himself that it would be foolish not to take advantage of this. After all, if a few words of loyalty could earn him a good meal, how could he say no? For now, his pledge was only verbal. When the dragon grew older, she would gain the power of the dragon heritage. Then she would learn a spell called the Dragon Pact, a magic of the dragon tongue that allowed her to form true bonds with followers. But that was still far in the future. By the time Esti awakened that magic, Nesad would probably be long gone. Why worry about it now? Without hesitation, Nesad grabbed the tiger, tore it in half, and began to eat heartily, as expected of a magical creature. The moment the meat touched his tongue, pure magic energy filled his mouth, and the soft fur felt almost like cotton candy. The 3-meter-long, several hundred-kilogram tiger was soon completely devoured, and Nesad lay back contentedly, getting such a reward without effort. What a wonderful feeling. Watching Nesad lie down contentedly after eating and drinking his fill, Esti clenched her teeth. To win him over, and to show her own generosity, she actually chose the strongest magical beast as a gift for him. Seeing Nesad eat with oil dripping from his mouth made Esti furious. But to maintain the proud image of the dragon race, she couldn't say anything and could only sulk quietly on the side. Devoured Shadow Pattern Demon Tiger gained skill Shadow Glide. Another skill? Wonderful. Shadow Glide. After using this skill, the body can briefly merge into shadows, increasing speed by 20% while hiding one's presence. He was amazed to find that in the atlas of mountains and seas, the claws of the gluttonous beast's image now glowed with a dark light. The claws were lit up. This meant he was one step closer to evolving into a gluttonous dragon. It was an unexpected but pleasant surprise. Success is 99% effort and 1% talent. That was a saying from Edison in his previous life. But there was another truth. Sometimes that 1% of talent makes all the difference. Eat and sleep, sleep and eat. That's what pigs do. But if you have even a trace of dragon blood, eating and sleeping means growing stronger. However, Nesad claimed he was a dragon above such simple pleasures. He wanted to work hard. His kin might rely on 1% laziness and 99% talent. But he would rely on 1% talent and 99% effort, plus an extra 900% from his special ability. The power of the gluttonous beast allowed him to devour all things. So far, he knew that eating magical beasts granted him new skills. But what if he devoured plants rich in magic? After the 2 young dragons ate their fill and went to sleep, Nesad rose and left the nest. He needed to explore the outside world. This was the rotten scale marsh, full of puddles and mud. The jungle blocked out the sky, sunlight rarely reached the ground, and the air was thick with miasma. It wasn't an ideal territory. Natural energy here was weak. Only black dragons, who liked damp and dark places, would choose to build their nests here. A dragon's strength usually grew with age. Carta, being less than 200 years old, was still a young dragon, so it made sense for him to settle in such a place. Stepping on rotting leaves and mud, Nesad carefully observed the surrounding terrain. Carta built his nest in a river valley, so Ned had soon found a river not far from it. The water here flowed slowly, and based on his knowledge from his previous life, heavier metals and stones would usually settle in such places. That meant any valuable ores or gems might have been carried here by the current. Ned had walked along the riverbed. Although dragons usually moved on all fours, he still preferred walking upright on two legs, a habit from his human life. Since he had no wings, walking on two legs also freed his hands. The area was covered in poisonous mist, but thanks to his black dragon bloodline, he had strong resistance to toxins. He wouldn't be poisoned, but the fog made it hard to see the riverbed. How could he search for treasure like this? He decided to take things step by step. Treasure hunting would need some preparation. As he walked, he suddenly noticed something glowing on a dead tree nearby. When he got closer, he saw it was a plant that looked a bit like a lantern. On closer inspection, it turned out to be a pouch-shaped fungus, its surface dotted with glowing spots. Inside, it was hollow and gave off a sweet, fruity smell mixed with decay. Ned had no idea what it was or what it could do, but that didn't bother him. He decided to taste it to find out. Doesn't matter if it smells good or bad. Food is food. Let's go? He tore off a large piece and tossed it into his mouth. The outer skin tasted like rotten apple peel, and the sweet, decayed scent came from the juice inside. It was sweet and fragrant, but soon his body began to feel a little numb. Consumed paralysis lantern fungus. Paralysis resistance 1, poison resistance 1. Seems like this thing is poisonous. He swallowed hard, but since he had already eaten it, there was no point worrying. After a while, the numbness and discomfort faded, and seeing no other side effects, he continued eating happily. Unfortunately, no matter how much he ate, the fungus only gave him one boost in resistance. He kept walking and eating, his arms full of glowing fungi until he could barely hold them all. Stopping for a moment, Ned began tearing vines from the trees. He planned to weave himself a basket. His dragon claws had grown sharp, easily slicing through the vines. However, he suddenly discovered that his claws could extend and retract freely, just like those of a feline. Could this be the benefit from eating the magic tiger? That was great. It meant he could free his hands, which would make tool-making and other tasks much easier. But despite his excitement, Nesad's weaving skills were a disaster. He almost tied himself up completely, and with a roar, he tore the vines apart in frustration. Ugh! He threw the vines to the ground angrily. This was far harder than he expected. Since he had no experience with weaving, he sighed and decided to give up. Just then, a blood-red vine covered in thorns shot up from the ground, wrapping tightly around him and dragging him into the nearby bushes. When Nesad came to his senses, he found himself facing a huge pitcher plant, more than 3 meters tall, with sharp, tooth-like edges around its opening. The vine flung him straight into the plant, and his body landed in a pool of strange liquid. The jagged lid snapped shut immediately. This plant was known as the bloodvine pitcher, a symbiotic species where the vine and the pitcher plant lived together. The vine would capture prey and drag it into the pitcher, where the digestive liquid would break it down. The nutrients were then shared between the two. Any ordinary human or creature caught inside would be badly burned by the corrosive liquid and soon perish. No matter how much they struggled, the lid above would never open. But Nesad carried the blood of a black dragon, giving him strong resistance to poison and corrosion. Trapped inside, he looked confused. Half of his body was soaking in the liquid, but instead of pain, he only felt a slight itch. He looked down at the bubbling fluid, took a sip, and smacked his lips thoughtfully. It's thick, a little sweet, and burns the throat a bit, kind of like fizzy fruit juice. After making his comment, he opened his mouth wide and began drinking the liquid eagerly. After drinking the bloodvine symbiosis cage honey, corrosion resistance 1, poison resistance 1, short-term wound healing 20%. Hick, that felt amazing. The liquid inside this plant was actually a sweet red nectar. Alchemists could use it to make healing potions. Of course, it had to be processed first, or it would corrode the stomach. After finishing the nectar, Nesad let out a satisfied burp and raised his dragon claw in a fist. Rising Dragon Punch. With one strike, he knocked the lid off and slowly climbed out, looking at the pitcher plant before him. Wasn't this just a large natural backpack? He peeled it off right away. Suddenly, Nesad felt a sharp pain in his leg. It was the bloodvine, covered in tiny thorns that had scratched his foot. The pitcher plant and the bloodvine lived in symbiosis. If one died, the other would suffer too. Almost forgot about you. Since we're a family, we should stay together. He pulled off the vine, removed the thorns, and tied the pitcher plant to himself. A pure, natural, eco-friendly backpack. Done. Along the way, Nasad kept eating and collecting, gathering a pile of strange plants. He wasn't worried about strong monsters coming to hunt him. Thanks to the dragon mother's intimidating presence, any creature with a bit of sense wouldn't dare come here. After all, the dragon mother went hunting regularly, and the nearby beasts had long been wiped out. So as long as he didn't stray too far from the nest, it was fairly safe. In truth, besides exploring the area, Nasad had another goal: to find a cave. To be honest, he thought his behavior was quite unusual for a dragon. Whether it was walking upright or using strange skills like 7-day bond, he stood out. Spending too much time with the dragon mother might make her notice something odd, and he didn't feel safe keeping all his collected items in her cave. To avoid trouble, he planned to find a cave of his own to store his things, just in case he needed to leave quickly. This place is too damp. Nasad looked at the cave by the water. For a normal black dragon, it might be fine. Later, it would have to store many things, but the damp environment could easily cause them to rot. He walked toward a place a little farther from the river, but not too far, since being near the river meant access to water and food. After walking for a while, a small hill appeared ahead, with a naturally formed stone cave on it. Nasad was overjoyed. He strode quickly to the entrance and was very satisfied with its size, dryness, and location. He sniffed the air unconsciously, then frowned and suddenly began digging into the soil. Under the dirt were many animal bones. Perhaps a powerful beast had once lived here, but judging from the footprints and traces, it had been gone for a long time. Since the cave was close to the dragon's nest, the former owner might have been eaten by the dragon mother. After confirming that no dangerous creatures remained inside, Nasad entered the cave. The ground was still covered with animal bones and fur. Nasad could eat them if necessary, but they had little nutrition. They could serve as emergency food, but there was no need to eat them when food was plentiful. He searched among the remains and found some torn pieces of cloth. They looked like human clothing, probably left behind after a beast attack. Sure enough, after searching for a while, Nasad found a leather travel bag. Inside were fire-starting tools, a map, and some strange stones. Among the tools were a box of matches and a fire striker. A spark lit up the dark cave. The matches still worked, and Nasad lit the fire striker for future use. He gathered a bundle of dry wood and built a fire, then used the light to examine the map. It was a map of the corroded scale marsh. The writing wasn't in dragon language, so Nasad couldn't read it, but he could roughly understand the drawings and symbols. It showed a route leading out of the marsh. "Heaven helps me," he exclaimed. Nasad had always planned to leave the dragon mother's territory someday. If he wandered aimlessly and ended up in a human city full of powerful warriors, he might become a target for alchemists. Carefully putting the map away, he used the firelight to study the stones he had found in the leather bag. They were colorful and crystal clear, shining brightly in the flickering light. He noticed one of the blood-red crystals, about 10 centimeters wide, with black patterns running through it. He could feel the strong natural magic inside the crystal, and without thinking, he swallowed it whole. Crunch. Nasad felt as if he were chewing a candy bean. The rich magic burst in his mouth, and after being absorbed by his special stomach, the gaps between the scales on his skin changed from dark red to red-black. The change wasn't very noticeable, and it didn't seem to give him any new abilities. Maybe it's still not enough, he thought. Nasad guessed that the owner of these relics had probably come to the valley to collect gems and minerals, but was eaten by a fierce magical beast. Then his eyes turned to the other gems. Most of them had little magic left, so it didn't matter whether he ate them or not. In the end, Nasad decided to resist the urge. Dragons loved gems and precious metals, so they often collected or even took treasures from other races. Nasad was no different. If a gem was full of magic, he would eat it, but these ones he chose to keep. Just looking at them made him feel happy. He carefully stored the gems and made some simple changes to the cave. He piled up large rocks at the entrance to keep other creatures out. He also cleared away the bones that gave off a rotten smell. It wasn't that Nasad couldn't stand the smell, but he knew it might attract other predators. After a full day and night of renovation, the cave became much cleaner and more spacious. After working so long, Naysaid felt hungry. Then, the fisherman Naysaid was ready for action. There was a slow-moving pond beside the cave, so he took his fishing rod and went there to cast a line. Using his usual method, he found some worms in the rotting swamp wood and put them on the hook. This time, to be more efficient, he also threw some fruits from the swamp into the pond to attract fish. There were plenty of fish in the pond, and soon a large group gathered. Naysaid caught one almost every time he cast his line. Before long, 7 fish of different sizes were laid out along the shore. He ate while fishing, but he noticed that most of the fish didn't give him any new skills or abilities. Naysaid guessed that only special magical beasts could give him new skills and talents. The first creature he caught, the iron-jawed river carp, was actually a kind of magical beast. Still, eating ordinary meat could also help him grow. Naysaid grabbed a fat fish, tore off a large piece of flesh, and swallowed it. It tasted good, but something felt missing, a bit too plain. Maybe he could use some plants he found in the forest to make seasonings and roast the fish later. Just as he was thinking about how to cook it, the fishing line suddenly hard. Whoa, that's a big one. The vine stretched tight. The pull was much stronger than the last time with the iron-jawed river carp. Naysaid tied the vine to a big tree again, but this fish was clever. When Naysaid didn't pull, it didn't either. You think I'll let you get away with that? He spat, then dove straight into the pond, swimming toward the struggling fish. A while later, a loud cry came from the water. Naysaid stumbled back to the shore, injured and bleeding, with 3 long black spines stuck in his lower body. Hiss! He gritted his teeth and pulled out the poisonous spines. Dark blood oozed from the wounds. Clearly, the poison was strong, and it had spread deep. His vision blurred, his head grew heavy, and the pain turned into numbness. No, he had to get the poison out. Luckily, as a dragon beast, his long neck allowed him to reach the wound himself. There was no time to worry about pride now. Naysaid opened his jaws, bit near the wound, and out the poison. He pulled too hard and accidentally swallowed some of the toxic blood. Oh no! Before losing consciousness, he shouted in frustration and collapsed. When he woke up again, 2 days had passed. His body still felt numb, but he had recovered enough to move. To think that the future dragon god almost died because of a poisonous fish, the thought made him furious. Ignoring his lingering weakness, he tugged on the vine and felt a strong pull from the other end. Good, you didn't get away. Let's see how I deal with you now. Naysaid ran to the upper stream of the lotus pond, moved huge rocks and plants to block the water, and then dug a new outlet below. This can't go on. We have to drain the water. While waiting for the pond to dry, Naysaid didn't stay idle. He pulled out the poisonous spines stuck in his back, found some sticks and vines, and made 3 long spears. Why would Naysaid, who already had sharp and strong dragon claws, bother making spears? Because the creature in the river had taught him a painful lesson. This world was too dangerous. If he could attack by surprise, he wouldn't fight head-on. If he could use poison, he wouldn't fight barehanded. Luckily, he had eaten some plants that increased his resistance to poison. Otherwise, he might have died already, and who knew if he'd ever get another chance to travel between worlds. From then on, Naysaid's adventures in this new world followed one rule: survive first, no matter what. I have a system on my side. As long as I live, I'll become unbeatable. As he ate some fish to recover his strength, Naysaid glared fiercely at the pond that was almost dry. The pond wasn't large. After about a day, most of it had turned into mud. The creature that had stung him earlier was now slowly showing itself above the surface. Fish were strong in water, but once the water was gone, it became Naysaid's battlefield. He smirked, pulled the creature toward the riverbed with vines, and without water, its struggle was useless. Soon, he dragged it onto the shore. It was a 2-meter-long black catfish. Its back was covered with dozens of sharp black spines. Whenever other fish or predators came close, it would use those spines to defend itself. Well, not so tough now, are you? Naysaid grinned proudly. The catfish glanced at the dragon beast before it, suddenly arched its back, and leapt forward, its spines aimed straight at Naysaid's side. Whoa! Naysaid dove aside, landing in the muddy pond. Getting hit before was bad enough, but if those spines had struck his side, it could have been serious. Even as a dragon beast, he still had dreams to chase in this new world. Anger flared within him. Nesad grabbed a thick log, half a meter wide, and swung it down hard at the catfish's head. The catfish struggled in pain, trying to fight back, but Nesad swung his club again. "Heh, I'll finish you off. Take this." Deep in the Fuline swamp, a strange and eerie scene unfolded. A dragon-like beast stood on two legs, laughing wildly as it swung a log at a giant catfish, its laughter echoing like that of a villain. Huh. Nesad panted heavily. He hadn't expected the catfish to be so tough. The log had already broken, yet the creature was still alive, twitching weakly. "All right then, Lord Nesad can't stand to see others suffer. I'll make it quick for you." If anyone had been watching, they would have cursed the dragon beast for being shameless. The poor catfish was already beaten half to death, and now he claimed he couldn't bear to see it suffer? With a sly grin, Nesad drew a long spear made from a fish bone. "Perfect timing. I was planning to roast some fish anyway. You gave me this bone, so I'll return it to you." He raised his arms, muscles tightening, and struck with great force. With a sharp sound, the catfish's eyes rolled back, and it went still. Revenge accomplished. How satisfying. Carrying the huge catfish back to his cave, Nesad lit a campfire and began roasting it. He took out some plants from his pitcher plant backpack, some spicy, some sour, and sprinkled them over the fish as seasoning. The aroma quickly filled the air. As soon as it was cooked, without waiting for it to cool, Nesad grabbed the fish and devoured it eagerly. In no time, the 2-meter-long, hundreds of kilograms catfish was gone. Consumed toxic spine catfish. Gained talent, venomous bone spikes. In the next moment, sharp bone spikes began to grow from his joints and along his spine. The once white bones darkened with black patterns. He examined his new ability. The spikes on his body now carried poison, and the strength of the poison matched his own resistance to toxins. In other words, the more poisonous creatures he consumed, the stronger his resistance, and the deadlier his spikes would become. Excellent. All that effort was worth it. You didn't die in vain, catfish. It was an impressive skill, perfect for an adventurer and ideal for surprise attacks. Nesad let out a satisfied burp and settled down beside the warm campfire, ready for a good sleep. When he slowly opened his sleepy eyes, Nesad woke up feeling refreshed. His body had grown larger once again. For dragons, eating and sleeping were the main ways to become stronger, and most dragons lived this way. However, any creature with a bit of intelligence knew that training, eating, and sleeping worked best together to help the body grow efficiently. But dragons were naturally lazy, and their lives were mostly carefree. This was mainly because dragons had almost no natural enemies. Some human adventurer teams liked to boast and call themselves dragon slayers, but in truth, they had no real idea what a dragon was like. An adult dragon was at least 50 meters long, about the height of a 20-story building. A single swing of its tail could easily destroy a city wall. Moreover, once a dragon reached adulthood, it could use powerful dragon magic and unleash deadly breath attacks. Even a young dragon could grow up to 5 meters long, and its scales, though not fully developed, were still tougher than the armor of mid-level adventurers. So, if a rookie adventurer team ran into a young dragon, unless they had a large army with them, they were basically walking into trouble. With dragons being so powerful, why would they bother to work hard? When Nesad returned to the nest, the two young dragons there thought a wild beast had invaded. They were about to attack when they realized it was Nesad. The sight of him left them stunned. Nesad now stood nearly 3 meters tall, his body strong and covered in dark red, glossy scales. A row of black bone spikes ran along his joints and spine. He was no longer the cute, clumsy hatchling he once was. He looked fierce and intimidating. Esti stepped forward, lifting her head proudly to look at him. Even though Nesad looked frightening now, she was too proud to show any fear. "Nesad, where have you been? Why did you take so long to come back? If you run off like that again, I won't share any food with you. You'll go hungry." Her bossy tone annoyed Nesad, but since Esti was in charge of food distribution, he knew that if he pleased her, he could keep getting plenty of tasty beasts to eat. For Nesad now, he still didn't know his own strength or whether he could hunt magical beasts on his own. He had only fought the poison-spined catfish before, and if it were in the water, he definitely wouldn't be its match. From this, it was clear that the only source of magical beast meat he could get was from the food Isti distributed. Seeing that Nasad hadn't answered for a long time, Isti grew a little unhappy. She looked at him and noticed how frightening his face looked, which made her swallow nervously. After all, he was still a young dragon, not even a month old, and even a dragon could feel fear. However, at that moment, Nasad had already thought things through. He slowly lowered his head and met Isti's gaze. What? What are you going to do? Isti took 2 steps back. She couldn't help it. Nasad looked too fierce right now. But the next second, Nasad suddenly sat down the ground, startling her. Please don't misunderstand, my lady. That day, I went out to the pond to drink some water and saw something shining like a gem in the river. I reached out to pick it up, but accidentally fell into the valley. I barely escaped with my life and was even attacked by a beast on the way back. Maybe my sincerity moved the dragon god, and that's why I was able to return to you. As he spoke, Nasad turned around to show Isti the wound on his back. Really? Seeing her hesitate, Nasad took out a dark red gem from his bag. No matter how badly I was hurt or how much I suffered, as long as I can give this gem to you, I'll have no regrets, even if it costs me my life. Nasad spoke with deep emotion, his face full of sorrow, as he placed the red gem into Isti's hand. The gem was clear and bright, glowing with a red light. Nasad's scales were dark red, Isti's skin was crimson, and Garza's skin was black. Looking at the beautiful gem in her hand, Isti froze. Could it be that he truly cared for her this much? To be honest, when she first made Nasad submit to her, it was only to keep things balanced. Nasad was a dragon egg that Karta had taken from another dragon. Although he had hatched early, Isti had never seen him as an older brother. She used Nasad to balance Zorga's power and secure her current position. She only saw Nasad as someone she could use. After all, he was just a lowly dragon beast. But even so, he remained loyal. He almost lost his life just to bring her a gemstone. And dragons truly couldn't resist the charm of gems, especially this one, which matched her color perfectly. Nasad's face was filled with sadness, his eyes glimmering with tears. The inexperienced Isti suddenly felt her heart soften. She didn't stop to think that Nasad's healthy and strong appearance came not from hardship, but from being well-fed and well-rested. Is that so? I misunderstood you. Come, have some food. As a reward for your loyalty, I'll choose a magical beast for you. Hearing this, Nasad turned away, as if not wanting Isti to see his tears. He wiped his eyes with his claws, a sly smile spreading across his face. This little dragon is so easy to fool. Another magical beast meal for me. As the fake tears faded, Nasad also wiped away the drool at the corner of his mouth. Soon, Isti really did bring a sheep-like magical creature. This is a mirage horn antelope. Its curved horns can reflect light and create illusions. Her explanation made Nasad pause. How do you know that? All the young dragons' food was caught by their dragon mother, and this antelope was no exception. How could Isti possibly know such details about the creature? It's a skill from the dragon heritage, Dragon's Eye. It allows me to see the true nature of things. As she spoke, Isti began to chant in the dragon tongue. In the name of the true dragon, tear away the veil. Let all things be revealed. As the words left her mouth, her eyes shone with light, sweeping over the gemstone in her hand. Then, information about the red gem appeared in her mind. Thorn ruby, a rare gem of golden law. It can reflect any harm done to its owner. It's an extremely precious magical stone. You're really lucky to have found something like this. In human lands, it could buy half a city. At first, Nasad was amazed by the power of the Dragon's Eye, but when he heard the last part, he suddenly looked up. Wait, what did you just say? Can this thing buy a whole city of humans? Give it back to me. Upon hearing how valuable this gem was, Nasad immediately wanted to change his mind. But Esti didn't give him a chance. He snorted and swallowed the gem in one bite. Since it was a precious gift from him, Esti accepted it happily, ignoring Nasad's gritted teeth. It was a mistake to be fooled. At first, he thought the dark red gem was average in quality and didn't pay much attention. Unexpectedly, such a big, obvious item was just used as a toy to fool him. He felt regretful. Nasad had no choice but to swallow the illusionary horn antelope with tears in his eyes and activate a skill. Illusion light. It can emit a dazzling glow, blinding enemies and creating a fake object. At the same time, the body of the gluttony beast in the mountain and sea atlas was illuminated. Carefully examining the picture of the gluttony beast in the atlas, it was drawn in an ancient ink style. The activated parts shimmered with light, but the eyes under the beast's armpits remained dull and gray. All traits of the gluttony beast, including the sheep-human hybrid body, tiger teeth, and human claws, were present. Only the eyes remained uncollected. Once all are gathered, it can evolve into a gluttony dragon beast. Most of the monsters he ate had eyes, but he couldn't light them up. Nazad was also trying to understand how to use the mountain and sea atlas properly, which could only be learned through practice. A system that can give instant answers in difficult situations is only useful for fools. By the way, Esti just mentioned that in the dragon inheritance, there is a skill called Dragon's Eye that grants dragons the ability to identify all things. According to Esti, the Dragon's Eye was created jointly by two dragon gods before their split, as a system of soul and bloodline resonance. It includes knowledge and skills, automatic infusion of historical memories, ensuring the purity of the dragon bloodline and the continuation of civilization. When a dragon reaches a certain age or strength, it can activate its inheritance. But for mixed bloods and dragon beasts, the inheritance is only fragmentary. For example, Nazad only has some basic knowledge of this world and the basic dragon language. Apart from his true name, he has no special talents or skills. The dragon god beyond, when I evolve into the ancient dragon form, I will surely break the unfair inheritance of the dragon race. Nazad started fantasizing again. Whenever he was criticized, he not only complained about his environment, but also about the strong ones. This way of dealing with things helps him stay positive and optimistic. Meanwhile, Esti walked into a corner of the cave and slowly took out the thorny blood jade that Nazad had given him. Even in the dark, this bright red gem emitted a faint dark red glow, and the fibrous cotton inside looked like black thorns, very beautiful. Although he's just a weak dragon beast, he's quite loyal. I won't accept him now, but once I awaken the dragon contract, I will bring him under my command. Sharing a little of his strength is not a problem. If my followers are too weak, I, as the leader, will also be troubled. If Nazad could hear Esti's thoughts, he would definitely jump up and shout a few words, mocking how poor someone is. And so, the three little dragons lived a relaxed life of eating and sleeping. Only Nazad occasionally went out to explore the ruined Scales River Valley in search of gemstones. Every time he returned, he brought back some stones he found on the riverbed, and Esti used the dragon eye to identify them. As long as the gemstones contained magic power, Nazad would eat them first, but since he didn't have the dragon eye, he had to let Esti identify them. No matter if they were good or bad, all these beautiful gemstones would be taken by Esti and stored in his own pocket. A month passed, and Carta still hadn't woken up from his deep sleep. At this time, the three dragons faced a problem. They had run out of food. To prevent their sleep from being disturbed, Carta set up a magic barrier inside his sleeping cave, which the three young dragons couldn't break. Actually, dragons can survive by eating stones, grass, mud, and soil, but for proud dragons, eating such things is simply shameful. So, to get food, they could only go hunting. Nazad had hunting experience and had stored quite a lot of food in his secret cave, but he didn't want to reveal his hiding place, so he had to go hunting with Esti and Zorga. I feel like we're a bit far from the nest. Maybe we should hunt closer. Nazad made a suggestion, but Zorga immediately rejected it. Only good at pleasing your master to get food, and too afraid to hunt. With that thin dragon blood in your body, you should be ashamed, because Carta looked down on Nazad. It was Esti who controlled the food distribution. Nazad had to submit. Also, since Nazad always brought shiny gems that pleased Esti, he received better food than even the pure-blooded giant dragon. This caused Zorga to develop more slowly. If it weren't for Nazad, Carta's leftover food would last longer for him and Esti, and he wouldn't need to risk hunting. He was already angry because Nazad made him lose favor with Carta. Now, the situation made him hate Nazad even more. But in fact, Nazad's suggestion was quite normal. The monsters within a few dozen kilometers of the Dragon City had been mostly caught by Carta. It was hard to find prey, but the area was relatively safe. As the king of the cautious, Nazad chose to play it safe. I'm just worried about you. Nazad turned to look at Zorga. Zorga was surprised, then looked at Nazad too. He thought Nazad was softening and was about to mock him again. But then Nazad's next words made his dragon face turn pale. I'm worried that someone useless like you might get eaten by an ordinary monster. Simple insults, but very satisfying. Nazad knew that arguing with someone narrow-minded like this was useless. Only insults could get through to them. What did you say? Zorga immediately bared his teeth and spat a faint, rotten dragon breath. Dragon breath is the strongest attack talent of true dragons. Different dragon types have different kinds of breath. Even a young dragon's breath can easily damage a knight's fine armor. And more unfairly, dragon breath also has a powerful magic dispelling property, making most mages' magic shields unable to block it. For dragons, spitting breath at someone is a declaration of war. Zorga dared to challenge Nazad because he had confidence. Even though Nazad had special abilities, he actually needed to grow stronger. Zorga, no matter what, still has a complete dragon bloodline and inheritance. Just the dragon's breath is too much for Nazad's current body to handle. All right, I've decided to hunt on the outskirts. You two can focus on internal conflicts for now, and we'll go hunting later. Esti interrupted their argument directly. Since she spoke, the two dragons could only listen. The three young dragons began to hunt around the dragon den. Two dragons started chanting. Suddenly, a strong wind blew across their bodies, and they gently flapped their wings to float into the air. Dragon flight doesn't rely only on wings. They also use dragon magic to fly. Nazad still envies their ability to soar in the sky, but he's not in a hurry. The sea map records many flying strange beasts. Xiongqi, Tengu, Yinglong. If they develop steadily, flying is just a matter of time. While flying in the sky, it's usually easier to spot prey from above. The corroded scale swamp is filled with miasma all year round, making visibility low, so they can only fly low. However, after circling for a long time, they didn't find any prey. This can't go on. Most of the land-based prey has already been caught by the dragon mother. Nazad suggested, maybe we can look in the swamp and ponds. There are many aquatic animals there. The two dragons had no other options, so Nazad led them into a swamp. This swamp stretched endlessly, full of dead branches, leaves, and mud. Almost immediately after arriving, they saw several crocodile-like monsters. The largest of these monsters can grow up to 5 meters and look quite fierce. These are the corroded scale swamp crocodiles, fierce creatures that feed on fish in the swamp. Their backs are covered with rotting fungi, and they are highly toxic. Nazad didn't want to risk fighting these monsters. He just wanted to catch a few fish in the shallow waters. No need to provoke these creatures. However, Esti firmly refused and insisted on hunting the corroded scale swamp crocodiles. If you want to go ahead. I won't risk my life. She ignored the protest from the other two young dragons. Nazad also refused to step into the swamp. He had enough supplies and didn't see the need to take risks. Forget it, Zorga. Let's go. Nazad, you won't get any of our prey. Esti snorted and then flapped her wings, flying toward the swamp. Really stupid. It's easy to understand that even within the dragon mother's territory, there are groups of swamp crocodiles living here. They haven't been completely wiped out by the dragon mother for a reason. Nazad stood on the shore, watching. Occasionally, he saw a few worms emerge from the swamp, and he would eat them to fill his stomach. He watched the two dragons hunt. Their plan was simple. Each dragon would start from opposite sides to drive the swamp crocodiles together, gradually isolating one or two. Then, they would wait for the right moment and attack together. Swamp crocodiles are similar to regular crocodiles. Their skin is covered with swamp mud and fungi. Their teeth are full of toxins and germs. If bitten, and if the victim's resistance isn't strong enough, they could die instantly. But the two dragons' strength was more than Nazad expected. When they pushed a crocodile into a corner, Esti released a fiery breath, burning away the infected outer skin. Then she swung her claws and pierced through the crocodile's skull. Her strength even surpassed Nazad's. Because Esti is a red dragon, and red dragons have fiery breath and the strongest physical power among the 5-color dragons. Nazad then looked to the other side. Zorga was also fighting a crocodile. The black dragon's breath has a strong corrosive effect, but swamp crocodiles are resistant to poison, so dragon breath doesn't affect them much. However, the black dragon's poison resistance allowed him to fight the crocodile directly without worry. Although black dragons are smaller than red dragons, killing a smaller crocodile was not difficult. After killing the second swamp crocodile, the one with the yellowish scales, he looked at Nesad with a challenging gaze. Ha ha ha, see that? That's the power of a true dragon. You lowly dragon beast, so weak and cowardly. Just stay on the shore and shiver. What an idiot. Nesad cursed silently. But then he noticed something was wrong. These swamp crocodiles weren't very smart. They only retreated into the water when the two young dragons chased them. And from the start, not only the crocodiles being chased, but also those lying far away on the riverbank crawled into the mud pits. It seemed like they were hiding from something. Nesad looked at the puddle beneath him. The calm water was starting to ripple. It seemed like something was coming. Suddenly, two bright lights appeared in the murky swamp. Nesad looked carefully. Those weren't lanterns, but the eyes of a huge monster. Hey, something is coming, he quickly warned, and the two young dragons also noticed the strange change in the swamp. A monster's head emerged from the muddy water. It was a giant, armored swamp crocodile. Its head alone was 4 meters long. The closest dragon, Esti, saw the huge beast and hurriedly spread her wings to escape. The swamp crocodile king opened its big mouth and roared at Esti. Poisonous slime shot out from its mouth like arrows, heading straight for her. Suddenly, Esti was hit. Her scales blocked most of the damage, but the toxic slime pierced through her thin wing membranes. Her wings were not fully developed yet, with only a thin layer of skin. The crocodile king's attack easily punctured her wings. Esti's wings were damaged, and she lost control, falling from the sky onto a small circular island in the swamp. Roar! The swamp crocodile king crawled out of the mud, opening its huge mouth to bite at Esti, who was near the edge of the marsh. The young dragon was terrified. She scrambled and rolled, running toward the center of the island. The giant crocodile half of its body stepped onto the island, then looked around cautiously, as if wary of something. What is he afraid of? Nesad noticed quickly. The swamp crocodile king didn't want to leave the swamp and water puddles. Zorga had already run back and was standing beside Nesad. That's the swamp crocodile king, the ruler of this small swamp. We should run. The once proud young black dragon was now frightened. If he had been attacked, falling into the water puddle would mean certain death. Esti sat in the middle of the island. Her wings were damaged, so she couldn't fly, and she was in pain from the crocodile king's poison. Before the dragon mother Carta arrived, the crocodile king was the ruler of the swamp. The dragon mother had taken his territory. But since the swamp and mud were the crocodile king's home turf, and he was a match for a black dragon, he kept a small piece of territory for himself. This is why, even though they were close to the dragon's lair and most prey had been caught, many swamp crocodiles still lived in this swamp. Let's go quickly. If that thing notices us, we won't be able to run away. Zorga urged Nace to leave quickly, ignoring Esti trapped in the center of the circular island. Help me. Esti also saw her two brothers planning to escape. She was now stuck in the middle of the island. If they left, even if the crocodile king didn't come ashore, she would eventually be trapped and die here. Don't leave me behind. Esti was frightened, losing her usual proud expression. Her voice was hoarse, and her eyes were full of pleading. Nace looked down and thought, if he let Esti die, all the prey that Carla caught would go to Zorga. Then he would have no food to eat. But even so, Nace wouldn't risk himself for Esti. She had never considered him family. Besides, dragons don't have family bonds. Most are selfish loners who only gather to mate. However, since Esti used to share food with Nace, and helping her wouldn't threaten his life, it was okay to help her a little. He shouted to calm Esti down. Hold on a little longer. We will find Carla and ask for help. Hearing this, Esti felt hope ignite in her heart. The crocodile king, after hesitating at first, turned and sank into the swamp again. But as a dragon, Esti's instincts told her that it was greedily watching her from beneath the water. Can someone stay with me? I'm scared. Esti trembled from the feeling of being watched. She no longer cared about her pride as a dragon and begged for a companion to stay with her. Since that's the case, Nace, you stay here with him. I can fly, and will find Carla quickly to come back and save Esti. Then Zorga, ignoring whether Nace agreed or not, spread his wings and flew into the sky toward the dragon's lair. Now, Esti's only hope for rescue depended on Carla. But watching Zorga's figure disappear into the distance, Nace knew that Esti's chance was very slim this time. As long as Carla falls into a deep sleep, no matter how they call out, the barrier's presence cannot wake her up. Even if she happens to wake up by chance, Zorga would honestly tell her to come and save Esti. Sure enough, Zorga stopped not far from the dragon's nest. After a brief moment of panic, he frowned and started to think. If Esti dies at the hands of the Crocodile King, then all the food for Carda's hunts will belong to him, and he has long been annoyed by Esti. He is clearly stronger than her, yet he has to stay beneath this little dragon. His dissatisfaction has been brewing for a long time, and now a cruel idea appears in his mind. After a moment of thought, he flew back to the swamp. Nesad, are you still there? Esti's voice came from the miasma. Since Zorga left, Esti calls Nesad's name every now and then. Because of the miasma, the two dragons can't see each other clearly. Out of fear, Esti checks every 2 minutes to see if Nesad is still there. This little dragon keeps calling. It's so annoying. Nesad was half lying on a tree. In front of him was a swamp crocodile broken into several pieces, the prey caught earlier by 2 young dragons. Since he was free anyway, and his stomach was hungry, he decided to eat it first. Swallowed decayed scale swamp crocodile. Gain skill toxic bite. Uses powerful jaw strength to bite prey, with a poisoning effect. When in stealth mode, damage increases by 50%. This stealth mode is quite interesting. It refers to when the enemy hasn't discovered you. That means sneak attacks deal more damage. It fits Nesad's sneaky and cunning playstyle perfectly. If he can sneak attack, he does. If he can't, he runs. Such clever tactics. Nesad, are you still there? Don't go. Boo-hoo. Seeing that Nesad didn't reply for a long time, Esti thought he had already left. Surrounded by thick miasma, the swamp around the circular island occasionally had ripples from water splashes. The little dragon was so scared that she didn't know what to do and started crying. Unexpectedly, Zorga had already flown back. Carda hasn't woken up yet, so we have to go save Esti ourselves. Hearing this, Nesad looked at Zorga. Does this guy have such good intentions? Suddenly, he became alert. Let me distract the corroded scale crocodile king. You swim to the ring-shaped island and carry Esti back. As expected, this guy couldn't hold back his words. Although, on the surface, distracting the crocodile king seemed more dangerous. But you have to remember, going to the central island to rescue Esti means swimming back and forth. When going, he can lure the crocodile king away. But if on the return trip the king refuses to follow, and just stays on the ring-shaped island, what then? At that time, Nace would also be trapped on the island. How about it? You don't want to save Esti? Just watch her die? Zorga put on a big hat, leaving Nace with no good options for a moment. After all, if Esti died, the one who would face Carda's anger would surely be his dragon beast. But Nace couldn't take on the task of distracting the crocodile king. At least Zorga could fly, and distracting the crocodile king from the sky would be much safer than Nace trying to do it himself. If you're such a cowardly dragon beast, caring so little for family, then even if I kill you now, Carda wouldn't blame me too much. Zorga's eyes flashed with a fierce light, staring intently at Nace, ready to spit out deadly dragon breath at any moment. This was a clear display of his true intentions. Nace, hurry and listen to Zorga's plan to save me. Esti saw Nace hesitating and immediately became anxious. Nace frowned deeply, glanced at Zorga, then showed a smile. You're right. Let's do as you say. We'll go save Esti together. Fighting Zorga might not give him any advantage. Because Nace's dragon bloodline was thin, he had already hit a growth bottleneck. In contrast, the 2 young dragons were now taller than him. If Zorga flew into the sky and kept launching dragon breath, Nace couldn't fly or defend against aerial enemies. He could only be passively attacked. He wasn't confident he could defeat Zorga, so he had to obey for now. After a brief discussion about the rescue plan, Nace ran to the side and carried his small sheepskin bag. It was equipment he found in the cave, filled with all sorts of odd little trinkets he had collected. Zorga looked at Nace carrying the bag, which was a silly thing used only by humans, and snorted coldly, full of disdain. Then I will go distract the crocodile king. When he appears, you must swim over immediately. Don't try any tricks, or you won't have a chance to survive. Nesad nodded and pretended to agree. Rebelling impulsively won't help now. If Nesad gets the chance, he will not hesitate to show his sharp teeth. Zorga recited a spell and slowly flew into the sky. In fact, he was taking a big risk, but to eliminate Nesad and Esti, he had to gradually lower his flying height and lure the crocodile king to attack him. Suddenly, the muddy swamp rippled with water. A pair of bright red eyes rose from below, staring fixedly at the young black dragon circling above. Roar! The crocodile king roared angrily. He didn't expect these little pests to dare challenge him. His tail suddenly stiffened and swam toward Zorga. Now is the time. Nesad plunged into the swamp. When he was swallowing the iron crocodile river carp, he gained the innate ability to swim like a fish, allowing him to move quickly through the water. He was moving very fast through the swamp. Just as he was about to reach the center of the island, a large blood-red mouth suddenly opened in the nearby water plants. It was the lurking rot-scaled swamp crocodile. I can't beat the crocodile king, and I can't beat you either. Nesad's eyes flashed with fierce determination. He sank into the mud and disappeared in front of the swamp crocodile in an instant. While the swamp crocodile looked around, searching for Nesad's figure, Nesad suddenly opened his mouth wide and bit into the crocodile's belly underwater. The crocodile hadn't had time to struggle before Nesad shook his head and tore, splitting the crocodile in half. Other crocodiles that had been approaching to bite Nesad also paused. Then, after Nesad left, they began to tear and eat their dead peers. Nesad successfully climbed onto the shore. Meanwhile, on the other side, Zorga kept ascending. The crocodile king, although unable to fly, could spray toxic mucus into the sky. The poison wasn't a big problem for the young black dragon. What worried him was that these sharp, blade-like toxins might pierce his wings, causing him to fall like Esti. Even their mother would not dare to fight the crocodile king in the swamp or water puddles. Like a young dragon such as him, once caught in a swamp, only the crocodile king would be instantly killed and swallowed. Nesad ran to the circular island. Esti was weak at this moment because she was poisoned by the crocodile king, so Nesad had to carry her away. Nesad grabbed Esti's arms and held her around his neck. Hold on tight. If you fall into the swamp, I won't be responsible, okay? Esti softly replied. Then Nesad jumped into the swamp with her on his back. Not long after entering the water, Nesad sensed something was wrong.